Well, guys, I take back what I said. At the beginning of the season, I called Caleb Martin the full package, and now he's probably statistically one of the worst offensive players in the league. I also said that Drummond's going to be a great lob threat and a physical finisher, and I said the Sixers also have a bunch of rebounders around them. And this was after the first game. I don't know how I was so blind. You guys can flame me for that, but with that all being said, the Sixers lose 116 to 118 to the Suns. And what's crazy about this game is that there's really not too much to talk about until you get to 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Besides for Paul George's debut, his gravity on the court, and his playmaking ability on the court. Aside from turnovers and some missed shots, Paul George's debut looked really good. PG ended up with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 31 minutes. One impact Paul George did have on the game, though, was the spacing. Players on the opposing team had so much respect for Paul George as an offensive player that it just left other people open. One example of this was how Maxey played. We haven't seen Maxey play like this since playing with Joel Embiid. Maxey seemed more free and more fluid. And more importantly, he played a lot more efficient. Ersan Yabusele also had a career night, and I'm not saying it was because of Paul George, but Paul George dribble drove a lot, and the help side defender and or the center would overplay Paul George, and that would leave Yabusele open for three. Paul George was also creating very well off the pick and roll, getting to the basket, and then doing little dump down passes to whether that be Drummond or Yabusele. Yabusele had himself a great night, mainly because Drummond can't keep himself in the game. Drummond played 15 minutes and had 5 turnovers. And with Yabusele's extended minutes, he put up 19 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 for 11 from the three. I love Yabusele, but Yabusele is way too small to be playing 5 for 30 minutes. Even Nick Nurse has said it, that Yabusele is not a center, that he's a power forward. So why can't we play someone like Adam Bona, who's a workhorse, athletic, and has a nose for a ball defensively? And at this point, we've already been losing. Why don't you try something new? Run some lineups we haven't seen before, or at least don't give us these small guard lineups, especially against a team like the Suns who have KD, Royce O'Neal, and Nurkic all playing at the same time. And people like Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon, they played very well in the first half, but in their minutes in the second half, they put up 3 points combined. How long does it take for Nick Nurse to notice something like this and switch up the lineup? I'm not saying Jared McCain's the answer, but Jared McCain's a guard on the bench that can score and has the energy to play a full game. He got in the game in the second quarter, and he hit a 3 in the corner almost instantly. But just a few minutes later, he was taken out of the game, and that was his only stint that night. And I mean, it was reasonable that he came out because Bradley Beal had 3 baskets back-to-back on him, leading to 7 of his 15 points that night. Jared lost Beal on a backdoor cut. Jared also overhelped and left Beal open for a corner 3. And then Bradley came down the lane, got a nice tough little floater through contact. But as we saw against the Grizzlies, Jared McCain put up 17 points in the second half. I know that game was a blowout, but 17 points in the second half is nothing to scoff about, especially when your other players wouldn't be able to do that. Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon would not have put up 17 points in the second half combined or individually. And what frustrates me is that we have people like Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre who are chucking shots every game, and they're not going in, but yet they get to play consistent minutes and play a lot and continue to chuck shots, and there's no repercussion for it. And you can't tell me that it's not an age hierarchy thing that's implemented by Nick Nurse, which we saw with Doc Rivers, and that's why so many people dislike Doc Rivers. You don't give young, good players the chance to play and prove themselves, and then when you take them out after something they do, they lose their confidence and play scared. Nick Nurse is losing Sixers fans' respect day by day. And now that we're on this tangent, we might as well talk about the fourth quarter and the absolute choke job that it was. Now, coming into this game, you're playing the 6-1 Suns, and you're without Joel Embiid, and you don't really expect to win this game. It's Paul George's first game back. Let him shake off some rust. But by no means am I saying we should have won. However, in the instance of what the Sixers were winning by and the amount of time, the Sixers should have pulled up that upset. That game came down to poor execution, poor discipline, and poor awareness. And on the defensive end and on the rebounding end, we have absolutely no one to match up with. The Suns go on a 14-6 run with 5 minutes left to close the game. I mean, let's just take a look at what the Sixers did with 2 minutes left in the game. We got a Kelly Oubre shooting foul. We got a Kelly Oubre lost ball turnover. Kelly Oubre foul. Caleb Martin, horrible mid-range jump shot on the baseline. Maxey makes one of his 2 free throws. And down the stretch defensively, you do get beat by one of the greatest scorers ever, but not on your own terms, because Kevin Durant, he was hitting crazy shots, yeah, but our size also hurts us. He ended the game with a layup. We were also getting Grayson Allen grabbed an offensive rebound off us because we have no size. And now here comes the controversial part of the game where Paul George has the last shot. Now, should Nick Nurse have called a timeout? I'm not sure. But should Paul George have had the final shot? No. And my explanation for that, to make it short and simple, was Maxey was playing well the whole game, and Paul George could not make a shot the whole game. Now, I don't know if Paul George wanted to be the hero and get the reception from Philly fans, but that play right there was just not it. Paul George gets the mismatch that he wants from Grayson Allen, and they willingly give it to him. They willingly switch. And he does a bunch of dribble moves, a bunch of size-ups, crossovers, and gets to the mid-range. He gets to the mid-range. You get the mismatch you wanted, and you aren't getting somewhere better than a deep mid-range. That's the worst shot in basketball. At least drive to the paint, man. Like, your shot wasn't falling all night. At least go to the basket. Get the foul, something. And what makes it better is that after the game, Paul George said he thought the Suns were only up 1, and he said he was going for game. First of all, we got to be more aware. We can't be going into the final shot and not having an actual clue of what the score is. And this wouldn't be the first time the Sixers did something out of miscommunication at the end of the game, almost costing the game. In our only win, we almost intentionally lost the game when Caleb Martin fouled when we were up 2 and the Pacers were in the bonus giving them free throws. But I mean, now if I'm Nick Nurse, every time the game's closed, I'm calling a timeout. I'm making sure we're all on the same page. Because when stuff like that, you're beating yourself, and that's not how you want to lose, dude. If you're beating yourself, championship teams and teams that are contending for the title, they're not going to do this. You're not going to see the Thunder do this, and you definitely wouldn't have seen those Spurs teams do this. It's something that's got to get fixed pronto. And now, I mean, the final shot, Maxey should have had it. There's no reason Maxey shouldn't have had that final shot. Even if we don't call a timeout, I think Maxey should have got the ball. I mean, people are saying that he denied getting the ball, but he should have went and got it. That whether it be on him, Nick Nurse, or Paul George, Maxey should have had the final shot. I mean, it was even his birthday, dude. Maxey was feeling himself all night. Give him the ball. And going into this game, yeah, you do expect to lose. That's a good Suns team. Like, losing that game's not horrible, but it's just the way it came because it was all on us. We need to fix these things. We've seen it happen before, and it always happens. It always happens every year. These type of losses, it's bad. At this point, all you can hope is that Joel doesn't get suspended for too long and that he comes back soon so we can actually see what our true team would look like and how we'd play together. And maybe, it might be too early, but maybe think about trading Kenyon Martin already. We got a few holes in our personnel. We might as well throw in Eric Gordon and Reggie Jackson with Kenyon Martin, get some more value out of it, because we don't really need them. I think we could just play Jared, but that's if Nick Nurse wants to actually play Jared. But that's all I got, guys. If you like the content, subscribe, and leave a like on the video.